Okay, you guys, welcome to to module 2 of Femme Fatale Foundation's Fearless Femininity. That is our hot topic for today. So as we come into live, of course, a couple of minutes late here, we had a couple of little technical things that come up, but I'm so excited to be here now. So I'm just checking the group to make sure that everything seems to be working, and it had better be. It says that I'm live. So when you get in live, just say hello. Okay, I can see myself live. So when you come in, say hello if you want. I'm gonna turn that off so I don't distract myself. So right off the bat, hi Erin, hey. So right off the bat, I wanted to say we've got a whole different vibe happening right now, okay? I just thought that this was interesting. This is just, hi Marie, hey, what a busy time. You've had a busy week, Marie. I know that you have. So I wanna say right off the jump, this is a different vibe on purpose. So the first video, module 1, our introduction, remember, I had like a lighter, neutral, natural makeup situation happening. I certainly didn't have this fabulous blowout. I'm wearing this cutout bodysuit with my fake boobies popping. You should have seen when I went down to get the mail and the postman buzzed. He has a cat-like skill of knowing exactly when I'm busy, and that's exactly when they always come, as soon as I'm about to go live. Should have seen me answering the door like this. We don't have the black curtain background, right? So there's a whole different vibe. The reason, look, we've got the red lip, we've got the liquid eyeliner. So this is an example of the, of course, like the movie version of the femme fatale, right? It feels different. I want you to notice, how does it feel for you as somebody who's perceiving this? Of course, all of you know me, and I sure hope that all of you feel safe here, but how do you perceive me differently? Do I seem more threatening? Do I seem bitchier? Do I seem more confident? Do I seem more professional, more put together? It's interesting because I ran into one of my neighbors downstairs as well today, and she's American, and she's like, you look so fabulous. And I'm like, that's cool. That's interesting that you say fabulous, because some other people certainly would be like, well, aren't you dressed up for the middle of the day? So it's just interesting. How do we perceive it? How do you feel for yourself? How can you imagine feeling for yourself? There's the expression, dress for the job that you want, right? And I have to say, even when I work from home, when I dress in a way that pleases me, it definitely changes my energy. Like I was like, just in a business context, for all of my queens here and who are watching the replay who are business babes, like I sold 5 things before 9 o'clock this morning in my yoga pants, not looking like this. You know, so does it make a difference? I don't know, like, but it's fun, right? So just pay attention for yourself. What's the assumption that you have when you perceive a woman who's like done up femme fatale? How do you perceive yourself? So I did that on purpose. I just kind of wanted to shake it up. And if you've got comments on that, you can feel free to drop them in. And for Fearless Femininity, this is a big module. And like Erin, I promise you it's going to put you through some things. Everything should. I've got a lot of wonderful things for you. I've got another tapping video for you in this module as well. It's called Tapping Yourself Arrogant. It's actually from the Femlux files of greatest hits, but that shit still slaps. It is so good. So in the workbook, you're going to have a link for Tapping Yourself Arrogant. So if there's anything that you're nervous about doing, saying, or being perceived as, you won't for very long. Okay. So Fearless Femininity, to be a whole woman, to be a whole being, we have to appreciate and honor any limitations that we may be feeling. And when I say honor, I mean not to disrespect, not to disregard, not to gaslight ourselves, of course, to honor them and to honor the signal that it's giving us. It's giving us some information if we're afraid of something. Hi, Anastasia. Hey, girl. Hey. So we're honoring, yeah, here we go. Exactly, Erin. Here we go. We have to honor the message that fear is giving us. I've said many times, and I'll say it again, and everybody who knows me, I'm difficult to embarrass. And that is absolutely a superpower. It's a superpower for sales, for presentation. It's also a superpower for pivoting and for evolving. And in our businesses, in our lives, we're here to evolve, right? So we can't be afraid of being different. We can't be afraid of other people's judgment. We can't be afraid of outshining other people. We have to be allowed to evolve and be as fucking fabulous as we want to be, or to choose to not go with a trend and sit a trend out, and to be bold enough to call bullshit on a trend that we know is baloney, that, you know, and then to be able to speak about it. So being very difficult to embarrass is a superpower. So this is your confidence. This is about the way that you handle fears. There's a process, and I'm just going to say this really quick. Of course, we're going to have a beautiful talk today, but there's a process of being so connected between your mind and your body that you can feel the fear, you can acknowledge it, you can name it, you can give voice to it, to a safe person and a safe place, to have it reflected to you, that it's like, I accept that this is something that I'm feeling. Okay. And then you can start to work with it. And then through working with it, it's just another layer of your invincibility that you gain. It's another leg up on the competition, because very few people are willing to do this work. Okay. So I'm so glad, again, I'm just looking at the notes here and I'm like, ooh, okay, here we go. So you're here, you're choosing to reject the status quo. You're here to grow. You're here because you're curious. You're here because you know that there's more. No matter how good it is, it gets to be better. As you know, the better it gets, the better it gets. And there's just, like I was saying to my neighbor downstairs when she's like, why are you so dressed up? And like celebrating it. But I was like, well, I'm hosting a masterclass today. I'm doing, there's a program that I'm doing called Femme Fatale Foundation. So we're talking about fearlessness today and fearless femininity and in the aspect of the Femme Fatale. And she goes, she's like, that is so interesting, because like, isn't that just the full expression of a woman in her power? And I said, absolutely. But the interesting thing too is that the whole woman, the picture of the whole woman, the femme fatale, male gaze, comic book, movie, TV version, often is quite two-dimensional. And it's actually very often a representation of the wounded feminine who actually does not trust her femininity. She does not trust her vulnerability. And so she's very much in her masculine. So she's making tons of money. She's negotiating aggressively. She dominates in the courtroom. She, you know, or she's like, she's a killer. She's a thief. She's a fucking criminal, like Catwoman. She's the scary thing that goes bump in the night, right? But very often that's all we see. We don't see, or if we see vulnerability from these characters, if we see vulnerability in any way, it's like, oh, and her parents were drug addicted abusers. Oh, or she didn't have parents. She's an orphan. Or, oh, she's got mental illness and stuff like this. So they give her there's reason that she's like this. And so the reason that she's so strong is because she's actually broken. Right? And so this is, let me know, like, clap if you agree, like, let me know if you've noticed this as well in movies. So the femme fatale that we see portrayed in the media is very often actually wounded feminine who does not trust her feminine. She's in her masculine. And then if there is vulnerability, they give it a pretty dark reason, and therefore it discounts her strength. Right? It discounts Marisa's truth. Yeah. It discounts her strength, because then it's like, oh, well, but she's fucked up. Like, she's broken. Even my air bubble agrees with me right now. Yeah. So when it comes to fearless femininity, it's about honoring our wholeness and the entirety, the duality. Like, it's even more than that. It's more than duality. Honoring the multifaceted allness of the woman, because we certainly can cut a bitch if we want to. We certainly can negotiate hard. We sure can make fuck tons of money. We sure can, we can stand up for ourselves. But at the same time, we can hold somebody who's in pain. We can sense with empathy somebody who needs us. We can care for other living creatures. We can do both at the same time. Like yesterday, I was having some hard conversations on my phone. I was like supporting clients through a lot of things, voice messaging, while I was making cookies for Stella to bring to the sleepover that she's going to tonight. And I'm like, look at me doing it all, right? So there's a wholeness to us. There's also a sweetness in the vulnerability of the feminine, the ability to break down and cry, and to feel everything, whether it's art or not. Like, we don't have to be Shakespeare's Ophelia. It doesn't have to be sadness, but make it glam. Like, we are the crone, we are the sage, we are the maiden, we are the warrior huntress. We are all of these things. And that's the truth of the femme fatale. She absorbs, she digests, she topples, she consumes, and she heals, and she nurtures, and she grows. So when people think of the delicate feminine, they're like, oh, she's like a flower. But what is that flower growing in? That flower is growing in dirt. What is the dirt made from? The dirt is made from what the earth digested and consumed and broke down, all of the living matter that had to be broken down so that the nutrients were available for a seed to grow. How does a seed grow? It fucking explodes. It's an act of violence. And then comes this delicate shoot that, so there's a lot more to the story of creation and to femininity than just she's a damsel in distress or she's a savage bad bitch, and she's a little crazy. There's so much more. So we're here for all of this. She is a goddess beside a waterfall picking flowers. She's a mother holding a child and offering help. And she's also, willing to hold a machete and chop shit up if she wants to. She's also laughing, a mean, mocking laugh at those who would hold her back. She's also stomping her foot down and breaking things down into dust. She's, and if anybody here, there are people that you care about, whether you have children or there are other people in your life that you care about, that if anything ever went down, you would take a stand for them, no problem, right? Like, we all have that side of us. She dances, she moves away, she flows like water, she flows like honey. She's the foundation and she's the space in between. This is why the feminine is so beautiful. The feminine is all, and this is why it gives me chills. This is why the divine feminine, like the high divine feminine, what we're talking about, this allness, this is why she inspires such great acts of gallantry and leadership from men who are in their divine masculine, because it's something that cannot be named. Yes, it's something that cannot be named. This is also your queen energy. So when we're doing programs where we're talking about money, I'm so fucking excited. Femme Fatale Foundations, this is the first live group program that we're doing this year, I think, except for the riff, which was camera off. But Fun Money is coming up. I want to do Calibrate to Cash again. We're going to do that live again. Currency Current is coming up. So we're having a lot of fun with money very soon. When we're talking about money, we're talking about queen energy, because the queen, she moves slow. She expects that she is served. The queen is served by the king from pleasure, because she's so mysterious to him, so beautiful, so awe-inspiring, so radiant, that the king, the masculine, which is the energy of money very, very much as well, more on that in the other programs, but the masculine loves to serve her because his love language is action, is providership. So the queen energy, the divine high feminine energy, she actually inspires adoration and worship. She is the altar. Her body is the altar. Her soul is the altar, where sometimes the only way to honor and acknowledge all of her is just simply to worship. And this is beautiful. So this is why men love to serve us in a way. And this is why it's actually good for us to be able to receive, because this is This is the power that is inspired, because the feminine, again, it's the space that holds everything together and holds everything apart. And the masculine is the energy that provides, that supports, that holds, so that she can dance this dance that she is. So this is why when we're awakening and embodying and loving and living in our feminine, this is where the magnetism comes in. And this is where you don't have to rush to do shit for somebody. And you don't have to rush and worry and over-explain and talk too much and stress about selling and stress about sales and stress about your programs filling up and selling out, because it's just like, I am throwing the best party. I am high in demand and everybody loves to come to my events. Of course they do. So it's just this energy of course. This is the magnetic energy of the queen who's like, the gates are open. Why wouldn't you come to my party? Why wouldn't you, right? And she's doing it for her own pleasure before she's doing it for anybody else. And then this is that stability, actually, that makes her even more magnetic. So this is the femininity, you guys. So to do this, all of that sounds so great, doesn't it? Sounds great. But how do we do it? So we have to look at our courage. We have to look at the status of courage. Yeah. So it's about being courageous. It's not about being fearless, because fearless it doesn't really exist. Just like with perfection doesn't exist. So fearlessness doesn't exist. It's more like awareness of fear, but being cool with it, right? Like having a healthy, respectful awareness of something. Like the more you know you don't know. So it's actually a high sign of intelligence. Sometimes people get frozen in anxiety when they don't understand what to do with the fear signal, but it's actually a sign of intelligence and awareness. Like it's good when you know that something can hurt you or it can fuck you up, but then you take that data and you act accordingly. You don't become paralyzed with it, right? So fear holds wisdom and it holds potential. So we need to look at it. It's valuable data. We need to look at it. We need to take an inventory. So many teachers gloss over this fact that like the more intimate that you are with fear, the wiser you are, the faster that you can move. So this is like why shadow work is so important, because it's like we're not putting band-aids on ourselves in the dark. We're actually totally owning and fully aware of all of our wounds, and we're fully aware of our triggers. We're fully aware of it. And because we're fully aware of it, nobody else can use it as ammunition against us. It's like something we talk about in the Invincibility Vortex in another program that we're going to do soon. This shadow work 10-day program. It's the energy of, so what? Like, yeah, so when somebody comes at you with something and you're like, yeah, I am aware of that. And I don't care. So if I don't care, why do you care? You can't hurt me with something I don't give a shit about, right? The energy of, yeah, so this is courage. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, there's more. I'm not wanting to get ahead of ourselves. Okay. So let's get into the workbook. All right. Okay. So one of my favorite quotes, many of you will know that I'm a movie nerd. And I like old movies as well. There's a brilliant movie called Lawrence of Arabia. Probably have heard of it. T.E. Lawrence, true story. He was a hero. He was unprecedented, brave, the things that this man did. But there was a scene in this movie where he lit a match and he let it burn down all the way to his fingers until the match went out by itself, and he didn't even flinch. And then somebody else in his party did the same thing and said, ow, oh, it hurts. And he's like, but how did you do that? And he's like, well, the trick is not minding that it hurts. And that quote just gets me. So that's front and center in this workbook. The trick is not minding that it hurts. We're fully aware. Thank you. We're fully aware of the aches, the pains, the potential, and we just choose to do it anyway. We choose to be brave. Okay. So fear and femininity How do they go together? So we're kind of talking about the fuck word, the F word, the fuck word. So reclaiming your sexuality, reclaiming your relationship with your femininity, your physical femininity, your sensuality, sexuality is a must, but we're going to cover more on that in our next modules. Today, we're going to talk about fear and courage. We're going to look at triggers from past experiences, and we're going to look at them and say, yes, I see you. I know that we failed in the past. I know that this hurt in the past. I know that we're scared shitless, but I'm going to show you why you can do it anyway. This is where we're going to get to today. So being fearlessly feminine is very much about owning all past choices and owning how every past choice, for better or for worse, has contributed to our present life, for better or for worse. We're owning it. We're choosing to own it. So every shitty relationship, every shitty friendship, every money mistake, every time you got ripped off, every time that you were betrayed, what if all of those things were a part of some soul contract that your soul chose, like ingredients? What if your soul, before you came here, was like, I want to be this. This is my purpose. And each of you has a unique human design, right? So we do have a unique code. We have a unique purpose. We have a unique blueprint. You are the secret sauce. You are the secret ingredient. Doesn't matter what anybody else is doing if you're doing something similar to other people, because nobody's doing it like you. Nobody can. So we do all have this divine purpose, right? So what if your soul, was like, okay, this is who I am. This is the finished, most actualized, pure version of this being that I'm going to be. This is the part that I'm going to play in this human drama. This is the part that I'm going to play. This is the impact I'm going to have. This is what I'm going to be. And then your soul, in complete neutrality, is like, okay, what are the ingredients that I need in order to become that? Okay, so I need to be hard to embarrass as an adult. I need to be very brave. Therefore, I need to have some embarrassing experiences happen when I was little. We're going to put those in there. I need to be very well versed in the dynamics of the masculine, the feminine. I need to have a really good understanding. I need to be very empathetic. Okay, so we're going to add in some suffering, right? What if your soul was actually choosing all of the experiences because it knew that it would create the stimuli that would result in the precise codes needed for you to be the perfect version of yourself, the perfect being, the perfect you? When you think of it that way, and some things might be really fresh, you might be going through some things even right now that you're like, well, if I did choose that, then I hate it. But if you could take yourself, my hair. Yeah. Erin says, whoa, I know. Soul contracts. So if you can take yourself like 1 foot above your head, and if we have time today, I want to walk you through this practice today. But if you could look down at yourself, and then if you could be like, to every single person who played a part, to that horrible ex, or to that one who broke your heart, the ones that broke your heart, to that worst client ever, to that parent who fucking got it so wrong. Any of these things, if you can look down on it and to say to them, thank you for being willing to be the villain that my soul's code needed to fight against, so that I could get the code to be my perfect self, my highest self. Thank you for being willing to be the villain for me. Can you feel how powerful that is? Can you feel how you're calling back your power when you become grateful for those things and those people that gave you the codes? Because that's their soul contract. That's their karma. That's their dharma that they're living with. It's interesting. That's not in the workbook. That's just something that's coming through right now for us. So I'm sure more on that later. So we're grateful for all the things that have contributed to us being who we are and how we are. So fear, it's that voice in your head that says you're not good enough, you're not capable, you're not worthy, you have to protect yourself, you better think twice, you should just stay home, not today. What if they say no? They're going to reject you. People are talking about you, they're saying bad things about you, they don't like you, they're laughing at you. Keep your head down, just stay in the background. So fear is the voice that wants to protect us. So we say, thank you, fear. Thank you. Fears get loud when we are on the verge of expanding beyond our limits. So like, think about it when you're sick. You just want to stay home, right? Like your body needs to heal. It can't handle any external anything. Noise, like gravity is too much when you're sick. So you stay home, protecting yourself. Fear wants to keep you isolated from any other stimuli, any other external things. It wants to keep you the way that you are, because it's like, I can't handle anymore. I'm too afraid of change. I can't handle those variables. So fear wants to isolate you. It gets very loud when you're on the verge of going beyond your limits. So that's actually a great sign. When something is really scary, if it's it shouldn't be giving like a full no, but it should be like scary, like, oh my God, am I doing this? And it should be like fear and excitement together. That's when you know, but it often shows up right when you're on the edge of an up level. But I want to say this because there's marketing and then there's manipulation. So I'm just saying this just as an aside. But in 2024, this is the time when we're recording this right now. This is the time of transparency. This is the time of authenticity. So if anybody is trying to sell in a manipulative way, that's not going to work. That is not going to work. You're not going to be sold to that way. Other people cannot be sold to that way. So it's always trust your body wisdom. You might feel fear, but if you feel also like a yes of like excitement, you have to trust your body. If you have a defined emotional solar plexus, then you're also going to have the emotional wave. So there's going to be different ways, and depending on your human design, different ways that your body says yes. It's very important to know that. And I just want to say for myself as a businesswoman, what this looks like on my side. I follow my excitement. I follow my yes. I follow my inspiration. And I present things to people and take it or leave it. I fully trust people to be in their sovereignty to choose something. We don't do high pressure. We don't do manipulation. And that's never been my style, but especially in 2024, like absolutely fucking not. So, your fear comes when you're expanding beyond your limit, but then you have to trust yourself. Okay. And I know that makes sense. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So when you've outgrown your circumstances, you're going to do something crazy. Fear is the signal that a new trail is being blazed. It's a signal that you're growing. As I said, fear shows up similar to excitement. You can choose, and then this can help with the discernment to ask yourself, am I afraid or am I excited? And if it's like, well, I am excited, but I am afraid. And then you can go deeper. Okay, what am I afraid of? And sometimes the fear, like if you're on the edge of an up level, doing something new and completely different, making a big move, making a big new financial investment, changing the game, changing, the structure of something. Sometimes it's like, am I afraid of who I am on the other side? Because I don't know her. There's a version of me, I don't know her. So I actually am afraid of changing because I'm very comfortable with who I am right now. And like, what if I'm so successful that I can't handle it? Or what if I learn some new things that challenge the stuff that I feel very comfortable with, and then I'm going to have to like change, so sometimes it's like, am I too comfortable? That's why I don't want to go. That's actually the fear that's coming in. So we have to create a dialogue with the fear. So we're going to call in courage. Okay. So fear is primal. Fear is primal. Again, a reason that we have to thank and appreciate fear. Fear comes from the amygdala. Well, I mean, I'm not a neurologist, I'm doing my best, but fear lives more or less in the amygdala. At the top of your spinal cord, the very first part of the brain that develops, the amygdala. So this is the part of fear. It literally like does not connect as a baby. Like the prefrontal cortex, the logical parts of the brain are not activated with that. So when you're a baby, when you're a newborn baby, it's the part of you that's like, if I am not hugged and held and fed and kept warm, I'm literally gonna die. And so you scream your little baby head off to make sure that those needs are met. So fear by its very nature is illogical. It's primal, it's not logical. We are only ever consciously aware of 5% of our thoughts and actions. The rest is 95% unconscious. So to try to deal with fear in a top-down way, logically top-down, you can see the problem with that because fear is not logical. So this is why we move very much with fear. We move from the body up. What is the body telling me? Where in the body am I feeling it? Is it nausea? Is it tension? Does my heart hurt? Is my throat closing up? Are there even different parts of the body that can be injured or have pain? We go from the body up to the mind and then back down. We go back and forth. But this is why we use the practices like meditation, trance-like states. This is why we use EFT and breath work, somatic practices to go with the body. So this is where in the workbook I have the tapping video for you called Tapping Yourself Arrogant. My hair is different in that video, but it's a really good one. I did it today and I'm like, this thing is fucking fire. So you've got Tapping Yourself Arrogant to enjoy, as well as the tapping video from module 1. Okay. How is this feeling for you guys? I'm still a little stuffed up from my cold. Bronchitis has been downgraded to whatever this is. Let me know how you're feeling this, if you want. And we'll keep moving along. So we're making way for power. Yes, love it. We're making way for power. And honestly, I'm just glad I got to wear this bodysuit again. I never get to wear this in Germany. I have like an entire wardrobe that isn't German friendly. Yeah. Anastasia says, yes, I've done the tapping every day and I'm noticing big shifts. Good for you. Erin says, this is another level, Krista. I love that, Erin. Especially you've been in Femlux for a long time. So I love to hear that. This is really, I mean, I love it. So I'm really glad that you guys love it. And I have to say, thank you. Yes, I know. I have to say, like, when I'm interviewed for something or when people talk to me, when I meet people, they're just like, you are so confident. And I'm like, I'm so confident because I have been broken a million bajillion times. So many times that it means like nothing to me anymore. And so that's why they're like, how are you so confident? And I'm like, because nothing actually really matters. Like we can kind of do whatever we want. It's pretty cool. So I love to teach this. I love that you guys are taking this in. I love to teach this. This is why it's called Femme Fatale Foundations, because from here, everything like life, love, making money, business, marketing, talking about yourself, all of that visibility becomes really fucking easy after you do this. Okay. So fears want to protect you from pain, shame, loss, embarrassment, which is a good thing. Thank you. Risk management. But just like many of you wouldn't take instructions from an anonymous text message whose number you don't know, if you get an anonymous text, like a spam text, and it's like, Erin, did you know that da-da-da-da-da is going to happen to you today? You better not drive your car. You're like, I don't know this number. Who the fuck is this? And you're going to drive your car anyway. You won't give a shit, right? So you wouldn't take advice from an anonymous number or some kind of like fake phone number or whatever. So it's important for us to know where the fear messages are coming from, and therefore to know if it's valuable information or if it is something that can be ignored. Because some fears aren't even ours. Isn't that cool? Some fears are inherited from women in our family line. So if your mother was punished for her beauty. This is an interesting one. Like nowadays we have pretty privilege, but there's also pretty persecution. That is also something that happened. Like we live in a different world. So just like, for example, I'm literally just remembering this right now, but my dad's mom, apparently I look just like her, but she became a widow when my dad was a baby. So she was a bombshell, but she had 3 little kids, 3 little boys. And she had money, but like you couldn't be a single beautiful woman with children in the 60s. And she basically had to get remarried, and she was like hunted and pursued and like harassed until she finally picked one of these guys. And then the one that she picked ended up being seriously, savagely abusive to her and to the kids. So her beauty actually put a target on her back. And many, I'm sure you can imagine many stories of this, right? Where being beautiful or being pretty or standing out too much in a positive way gains you negative attention. Like, oh, who does she think she is? Oh, she thinks she's better than us. Oh, she's a snob. Oh, she was asking for it, right? So if that has happened to you or to any other woman in your bloodline, then you could have some unconscious trauma around that, where you are learning to play down, dim yourself down, don't outshine, don't get that kind of attention that might not even be yours. So what I have heard and what I understand is that it can go back even 10 generations. So we do this work with money, but we also do this work with other pieces of trauma. So in the context of Femme Fatale Foundations, I would like, this isn't in the workbook, I'm just saying this here, I would love to invite you to think about the women in your bloodline on your mom's side of the family and on your dad's side of the family. Just go back as many generations as you can. Talk to your mom if you can. Talk to your grandma. Talk to any of your elders if you can. And just find out what their story was. What did they live through? What were they like? Like one of my great grandmothers died of breast cancer when my grandma was only 12. So it's interesting. So like, what were their traumas? What were their fears? And then just to know that as a human, you're made mostly of water. Water carries memory. So our DNA actually carries, because our DNA is made of water, we're made of water, we actually carry the memory of wins and successes, assumed gifts, yeah, but we also do inherit some generational trauma. And it's very interesting to see how this plays out. So especially for those who have, well, I mean, I'm thinking culturally, but I'm like Northern Europeans. So if you have a heritage that's like German, Irish, English, French, Dutch, like any think about the wars, right? Like the World War One, World War II. Think about, like, if you're American, you may have had family in Vietnam War, Korean War. Think about the Industrial Revolution, the fucking sinking of the Titanic. Think about there's so many things that have happened. And did that lend to confidence, or did that lend to scarcity? Right? And if that's in our blood, we have to think about that. So if they're inherited from women and from people in our family line, we need to know now that our circumstances have changed. We need to know now that we don't need to let generational trauma from the past call the shots. So this is why we're going to take an assessment, and we're going to take that intel, and we're going to take the value, and we're going to leave the fluff. We're going to leave what's not ours. We're going to leave what we're not willing to hold anymore. So here in the workbook, you're going to have some spaces to journal and to answer some questions. Of course, it's going to be an interactive workbook, so you can type it. You can do it right on the computer. It can be an interactive typing thing. You don't have to print it and fill it in if you don't want to. It's up to you. How safe, secure, supported are you feeling in general in your work, relationships, with money, with family, and with friends? So for each of these, I would recommend obviously rating all of these separately. How secure and supported are you feeling? And maybe do it on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, and then where are you feeling the least safe, the most shaky, the most insecure? Think of the activities that you avoid or that make you lose your temper, that make you go into a reactive state, or that make you like numb out and avoid. Like you'll scroll your phone, you'll like, oh, I have to do the laundry. Oh, I have to just clean the whole house right now instead of going live on Instagram. Or I have to, oh no, I cut myself cooking and now I have to take care of that, instead of responding to messages. Like, it's amazing how the sabotage can come up. So what do you avoid? What makes you lose your shit? What's a topic that your partner can't bring up in conversation? Like if your partner starts talking about bills or talking about taxes, or talking about how long you work or whatever, like are there any subjects that just push you over the edge? Because that is going to indicate where you're not feeling safe and secure. So for women especially, our sense of safety is very tied to money. So I just want to bring you here again. How safe do you feel with money right now? And when I say safe with money, I mean, do you feel like money is there for you? Do you feel like it has your back? Do you feel like no matter what happens, I actually have enough for everything that I need, at least everything that I need? And most of the time, if not all of the time, I have some extra for the things that I want. And I feel neutral when I look at my bank account, or I feel fine. Like when bills come in, I'm like, like how neutral are you with money? Because for women especially, when we have money, women have a lot more agency. We have a lot more safety. It's something that comes up, like even client I was messaging with today, a private client that I was messaging with today, looking for a home in the new place that she's relocated to with her kids. And the thing that keeps coming up is safe. And she loves the place that she found, and it's more expensive, but she's like, but it's so safe. And the location is great, but it's safe. And so for women, like safe, you know, but it was more money. And like where I live too, it's a gated place that you can't even see from the street. Has this long driveway with these huge old trees. There's a security gate, there's a camera, and there's 2 more security doors and another camera before you can get into my flat. And it's amazing because where we lived before this place, what pushed us over the edge, like I hated it. I never liked the place that we lived in before, but Stella was being stalked. She was 5 years old and she was being stalked by some creepy teenage boys in this town that we lived in here in Germany. It was like I had to get the police involved, like the Bavarian German police. It was very fucking serious. And that was the week that we chose to spend a significant more money to be in this place because I needed to feel safe. So for women, money very much is associated to our safety, to our agency, our choice, our voice, and our safety. So this is why, even if it feels icky, we got to do it. Yeah, these fucking kids. It was wild. And yeah, they tried to pick her up from school and they would wait at the parking spot where I would park all the time. And there was like 2 of them, and then there was 3 of them, and then there were 4 of them. They were there every day for like 10 days and like riding bikes around us. And I just remember having this thought, because I am a bad bitch. I remember having this thought. I'm like, I can't like punch these kids out in front of Stella. Like if one of them got too close and said something that like sent me, I can't like uppercut this kid, because then I'm committing violence against a minor and I can't traumatize Stella. Like mommy can't knock the teeth out of this little shit, because I would get in trouble. I would get in trouble. Yeah, so it was very disturbing. And then, when I found out, I let the school know that it was happening, and then they were like, oh my God, they tried to pick her up from school yesterday. That's when I called the police. And that's, I just remember I called my husband at work, because where we live now, it's like 5 minutes away from the hospital where he works, but the other place was like 25 minutes away. And I'm like, it was triggering as well, because I had no friends, no family. I could barely speak German. So I'm like, even if I was able to call you, even if you weren't in the OR and you could come, it would still take you at least 25 minutes to get here. And then like what will happen to me in that time? And then as a man, divine masculine, he's like, well, it's a priority for me that my woman feels safe and like safety. So we ponied up, we like tripled our living expenses to be where we are. But guess what? Business tripled by like 3,000%. So when we feel safe, we fucking expand. When we feel safe as a woman, we expand. So how safe do you feel with money? How is that contributing to your expansion? So to go a little deeper, were there some scary situations with money when you were little? So parents struggling to pay the bills, child support, fights, were you ever, stranded in the car ran out of gas? I don't know, like, or did you see your father manipulate your mother so that she could have spending money? Or, or do you have memories of your mom being like, we can't afford it? Like, did you have any things like that when you were little? I can think of a bunch. I've heard a lot as well. How did your parents, when you were little, how did your parents respond when you were hurt or scared? So were you validated and nurtured, or were they just like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, stop complaining, stop embarrassing me, stop crying. Or were they nurturing you and holding you and seeing you? I know that some stuff is going to come up. It should, honestly. If and when it does, if you're in the container, if you're in conscious opulence, yeah. Anastasia says tons of experiences of like that with money. Yeah. It's very common. And that's why it's so good to just turn the light on in that closet and let the boogeyman dance and dance. Like, it's there, okay, we're honoring it. And these stories do not have to affect you anymore. Or at least you can be like, yep, I know that demon. I've danced with it before. Yep, it's pretty familiar. And then you can draw the comparisons to be like, that happened before. That's not going to happen to me now. That was a story from little Anastasia. That was a story from little Aaron. And then actually, so I'm just going to digress for a moment. So a way to heal this, a way to nurture this, of course, feel it, feel the pain, feel the disappointment, feel the betrayal, feel the anger, whatever it is that comes up, feel it. And then if you want to, you can take yourself in a quantum healing time travel sort of situation where as an adult, as an empowered, highest self version of yourself, where you go back to those memories and you actually can talk to your caregiver, you can protect little you like freeze the situation. They're saying the horrible thing and you're feeling very afraid as you're witnessing it. You can freeze the situation. You can talk to little you and tell her what she needed to hear and just be like, hey, I know that this is scary. I know that this is confusing, but I want you to know, guess what? This actually has nothing to do with you. And you are totally worthy. Your parent has a lot of things going on that you don't understand, and it's even none of your business, but it's not your fault. And none of this is yours to carry. And then you can even, in this vision, you can even talk to your caregiver, to your parent, and be like, you know what? I'm really sorry for you that you have all of this pain and fear, but it's really inappropriate that you're doing this in front of this kid because she had nothing. She didn't choose to be here. You chose to be a parent. So get your shit together. Like, you can actually kind of have this quantum calling out, healing conversation. When I have done this work with clients in the past, even with great violent traumas that clients have experienced, when we've done this kind of time travel visualization, they say that their anger, their fear, it's like neutralized, and even years and years later, it doesn't come back. So that's a practice that you can go to if, when you're doing this work, if some really strong memories come up, and you can put it into the Facebook group as well, or any container that we may happen to be sharing. If that's conscious opulence, if that's any container that we have together, you can go ahead and drop it in, and I'll support you through this as well. Okay. So because we are bad bitches, the mantra in the workbook, yes, very good. Good. I got you. So in the workbook, we say it ran into my family. It ran in my family until it ran into me. So you get to be the one who's breaking that chain. Okay? And if you, depending on your relationships, so like I'm married, and obviously, and when I have these kind of realizations and breakthroughs, I actually tell my husband. So just kind of for accountability, also just to be witnessed, and also to inform him as a man, as my man, of like, FYI, this is one of the codes that I have. I have this wound, this code, this program. This is something that little Krista dealt with. And so I might be sensitive to these kind of things. Have you noticed that? And he'll be like, I have noticed that over the years. I didn't know what it was, but thanks for telling me. And then I let him know if there are ways that he can support me through it. So if I have a trigger about something, then I just kind of give him it's like I give him the code, like the cheat card where I'm like, if this happens, this is what you can do. And he's like, thank you. And then it helps our communication in our relationship to be very good. And it helps my heart and my feminine to trust him even more, which expands everything even more. So if you have a trusted person that you can be witnessed, whether it's your best friend or somebody close to you, if there's somebody that you can confide and be like, hey, like, fun fact, this is something about me. Just for them to be like, cool, thanks for telling me. I've got you. I love you and I've got you. It will just feel very good. Another layer of healing for you. Okay. So next question. When you're scared, where does it show up? Yeah, it is really beautiful. It is. When you're scared, where does it show up? Do you freeze? Do you snap? Do you run away and avoid people? Just to notice it for yourself. Or do you get distracted? Right? So what would you be excited to do if you decided that the feelings of fear were simply assigned to take some kind of action, different action? Like, it's not holding you back, but it's actually permission to move. How would that change things for you? Interesting. Okay. So the 4 fundamental fears are fear of being not good enough. And this is from, what's his name? Gay Hendricks, his book, The Big Leap, I think it's called. Fear of not being good enough, fear of being alone, abandoned, fear that success will be a burden, it will be too hard, it will make my life too hard, fear of making other people feel bad if we shine too bright. So which of these 4 fears do you most identify with? Fear of not being good enough, the fear of being alone and abandoned, the fear that success will be a burden, it will be too hard, it will make your life shittier. So the fear of success being a burden, this can really come up when we're at capacity and like we can't handle anymore, at least no more, not like this. And then we need to change something. So it's very interesting. Or the fear of making other people feel bad if we shine too bright. So that could be like the pretty persecution. It could be like that. I see that a lot in Germany, actually, where women like they don't have a lot of fun dressing. There's gorgeous women here, but they usually really dress down. And I'm like, why don't you turn this up to 11? It looks so good. And then they're like, oh no, but I don't want to be the one that I don't know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so boring. So it's kind of sad. Yeah, making other people feel bad. So like if you're very, very smart, when you're really smart and like you know the answers, and like even sometimes people will dumb down their vocabulary if you have a peak vocabulary, but then you'll dumb it down. You're like, well, I don't want people to feel stupid. I don't want to be a show off. Why not? There's this thing called tall poppy syndrome, and a member of this container, when she's watching the replays, she'll know who I'm talking about. But tall poppy syndrome of being the one who stands out, being the one whose head is too tall. You're taller than the other people. And then what happens? You get cut off. So the fear of standing out. Yeah. Anastasia says, I think mine is not being good enough. That's very, very common. Your human design. I know you're a projector. What's your profile? If you can tell me again, Anastasia. So fear of not being good enough, that is, I want to almost say that that is a universal fear. Even if it's like a fear of not being good enough, as in, I don't think I can, I don't believe that I can. It could even be a fear of, can I sustain it? Can I hold it? 2-4. Okay. Yeah, the 2, if you're a 2-4, I can check later as well. If you're a 2-4, the 2 sometimes has a lot of trouble seeing itself. And it's actually the easy breezy genius. That's actually the 2-4. But the 2 line has a hard time seeing itself. And then the 4 line is very social and will want the feedback. Like the 2, and the 2 actually does really well to have reflection from other people to say, hey, you're doing amazing. This is how you're actually doing great. So if you're a 2, that would, if you are a 2-4, that would make a lot of sense. What can be helpful for you to feel good enough to read your own stuff back to yourself, watch recordings of things that you've done, and even ask people for feedback. So ask people, be like, how did that sound? How did you take that? How did that feel to you? And actually ask for the reflection. And when you're working with somebody in coaching or mentorship relationship, it's really great when they also help you to see yourself. So, but you can work on seeing yourself by acknowledging, looking, watching, reading, being like, you know what? That is really good. I like that. So I hope that helps. But not feeling good enough, I think that's very much a universal human thing, and it shows up in a lot of ways. It also goes back to the sign of intelligence. Really smart people, there's literally a study about this. I've referred to it before, and I probably will never stop. You're welcome, Anastasia. But stupid people don't know that they're stupid. Ergo, smart people don't know that they're smart. So the more that you know, the more you know you don't know. The more that you know, the more awareness you have of how much there is still to learn. So the most intelligent people, geniuses, it's like never good enough. Like Elon Musk, think whatever we want about this man as a man. Like we all have opinions about these people. But Elon Musk is fucking Elon Musk, right? Like he's a Thomas Edison of our day, in a sense. Whatever. I could talk about Elon Musk. I'm not going to. I'm saying he's a pretty fucking impressive guy. Like him or hate him, pretty impressive. I saw an interview with his dad, and he's, I think, South African. Yeah. And his dad is like, I'm not impressed by him. And I was like, I'm like, childhood trauma. It's never enough, never good enough. So feeling not good enough, it's a big motivator for people, and especially intelligent people, because they never feel like it's quite good enough because they know how things can be. So it can be a cause for a lot of anxiety, and this is why radical self-acceptance is important. Meditation, grounding practices, release the ego. So for very smart people, for very, very intelligent people, and ambitious people, grounding, self-acceptance, shadow work. It's very important to be like, you know who I'm good enough for? Me. I'm good enough for me. And that's the only person that I have to be good enough for. So, okay. All right. Okay. Think of so many fun questions. What a fun module we're doing on fear. Think of one of your biggest fears. Ask it why it is here and what it wants you to know. What does it say? So do this in a relaxed state and be willing to listen. And even if you have to read this and walk away, you might get different answers at different times. And ask to be shown or told in a way that you usually experience things. If it's like a coincidence or a synchronicity, if it's like a voice in your head, or if it's like a feeling in your gut. I often hear clear, loud, specific words in my head when I do this work with myself. So however you want to do it, ask, what is your biggest fear? Why is it here? What does it want you to know? And then what does it say? And then if this fear were a child who was very, very scared, legitimately terrified, standing in front of you, what would you say to this fear? If you were comforting it like a little child, what would you say to this fear from the perspective of who you are today, a wise adult woman? What would you say to this fear? And then remember that this fear is a part of you. So you're really saying this to yourself. So then if you want to do some somatic work, when you write this out, what would you say to the fear? Then you can turn it into affirmations, and you can just do some intuitive tapping however you want. My boobs are so big, I can't even tap. But so you can tap on your heart, on your thorax, your wrists, and you can anchor it in what you need to say to the fear. Yeah? So a powerful way to reframe fear is to choose small stakes scenarios that make you nervous and then prove that you can actually do it. Like answering the call of an unknown number live, picking up the phone to an unknown number, that's a little thing. If it's a scam, hang up, don't get scammed. Tell somebody no in a low stakes way. Like if the people who want to spray perfume on you in the mall, if you feel like, oh no, this person just doing their job, I'm gonna let them spray me. And then you're like, why did I do that? Just say no. So like say no in a low stakes way if you can, or choose a bold outfit that you know gets a lot of attention, but like literally it doesn't matter. Nobody can do anything to you. Wear a color that you don't usually wear, do your makeup in a way that you don't usually, wear the red lipstick, do your nails black if you usually have a neutral color. If there's something fun that you want to try with your look, just take a little small risk. And that can be a very good way to reframe the fear and to be like, I'm safe. I did something different. And then you're pushing your edges, but in like micro shifts. And if you did this every day until our next module, if you asked, what's one scary thing I can do? Tiny little thing, even if it's telling your husband, I'm not going to do the dishes. I'm going to leave the dishes in the sink because I don't want to do them. And if your husband's like, how dare you? Normally you do the dishes. Or like whatever, if you're like, I don't want to watch that movie. I want to watch something else. Or I don't want to cook tonight. I want to order in. Like if you want to defy the norm, pick something little like that. Do it every day until our next module and then report back. We're going to make you bad bitches, even badder bitches by the time we're done here. Okay, so, I like this one. One of my favorites. 1 second. This bronchitis needs to leave my life forever. Rewards go a long way in inspiring and motivating us to take actions and to do something new. The German word for reward is Belohnung. And I will use, that's one of the very first words that I learned, Belohnung. It means that you get something because you did something. And I like that. One time I got a pair of Jimmy Choos in the city of Prague because I learned how to say in German, Ich möchte gerne ein neues Paar Jimmy Choos haben, bitte. I would like very much to have a new pair of Jimmy Choos, please. I learned how to say that in German to my husband, and he was so shocked that he's like, not only will I buy you a pair of Jimmy Choos, I will get you the matching purse as well. And I was like, Belohnung. That was my Belohnung. I reward. Yes. So you get to have a reward as well. How will you reward yourself for doing one or more of the actions that you wrote above? Pick a little reward. If you said, I will do a scary thing every day for the next week, and then I will buy myself a pair of Jimmy Choos, or I will buy that crazy outfit, or I will go to that restaurant. I'll take myself on a date for one and get caviar all by myself, or whatever the fuck you want, like something luxurious. Or you're going to book a trip with your friends, or you're going to take a weekend off or a week. I don't know, some reward, something. It doesn't even have to be like buy yourself roses, buy yourself flowers, say that you're going to splurge and you're going to go get yourself an expensive bouquet, not a simple one from the grocery store. You're going to go to a real flower shop and buy yourself a crazy bouquet of flowers. Or actually, I love when it's a reward, a Belohnung for this kind of thing. I like it if it's a talisman that can last longer. So if it's a jewelry, like a kind of pendant, or if it's a perfume, these can be very good things because they last. And then every single time you look at it or wear it, you're like, I'm brave. Something that can last. So I recommend that. How are you going to reward yourself? Okay. So what fear are you excited to release? This is the end of the workbook. Yeah. What fear are you most excited to release? What gets to be possible for you when that fear is gone? And then who will be inspired and directly impacted by your new fearless femininity? Who's going to be directly inspired by that? So you guys are the change makers, right? You guys are the change makers. You're the leaders. You are the new ancestors. You are the ones who are establishing the normal for the generations to come. You're breaking the chains of scarcity lack. You're breaking the chains of gaslighting. You're breaking the chains of tolerating. You're the seers. You're the leaders. So a lot of fear can be found in the term, what happens if? What if? Right? What if? Let me see. Stacey, this just came through, if you just sent it. I think the fear of visibility is strong for me too. I'm not sure why. It might be some generational thing. It might be generational thing too, but I'm ready to get rid of that one. Fear of visibility. Yeah, fear of visibility. I get the sense that it's very much tied up with your fear of not being good enough, because like calm is a superpower, and I talk about this. It seems like I feel like you don't really recognize yourself. Erin says, me too, Stacey. Fear of visibility. Okay, that's interesting. So when you can see yourself, your visibility is a gift. Like, visibility is an action. It's the masculine side of the heart chakra. It's doing, it's an action. It's a gift. Your visibility, you're choosing to be visible, findable, seeable with your gifts, with your skills, with your wisdom. It's a gift for people. You're doing them a kindness. You're doing a good thing for the world when you're being visible. People are actually grateful. So if you can reframe it like that, like, and if I'm not being visible, I'm holding something back that people need. And that's not fair. I'm vulnerable to judgment when I'm visible. So then the fear of judgment, yeah, your visibility, it's a gift. It's a gift for people, yeah? But vulnerable to judgment. So this is a very interesting one because it is very valid. Like I can be quite provocative online, as you know, and I'm pretty neutral about it. I haven't really had, people have said some fucked up stuff, but I haven't really had my feelings hurt. But big things can happen, but and we don't have any control over that. That's something to be aware of. When we want to control other people's judgment, we are actually taking away their sovereignty. People are allowed to think whatever the fuck they want to think. But you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, that I flipped that. So if we want to control, so this is people pleasing. If we want to please other people, that's a form of dishonesty, because we're not really being authentic. We're doing it to manipulate people. We want to people please. We're not really being authentic. And then if we want to control people's judgment and say, oh, they are not judging me, then we're taking away their sovereignty. People can judge and do whatever the fuck they want. But the question is, does it actually have to touch us? And the answer is no. Like, even with really brutal things, that could happen. But this is a practice that you may be familiar with. Write down on a small piece of paper all of the people whose opinions you give a shit about. And as RuPaul says, if they ain't paying your bills, pay those bitches no mind. So who can really actually affect your life? Who can actually really truly affect your day to day? Your freedom, your money, your safety where you live, your relationships. And if it's like, well, something could get back to my husband and people could say mean things about me and then he would judge me, and then what? And then he's not going to love you anymore? That's your husband. Like, he's going to fucking love you. Yes, quoting RuPaul. Yes. So write down the names of all of the people that you really care about, and then look at that list again and start crossing names off of like who would actually judge you, and like who, like, because the people whose names are on this list, and as the list gets shorter and shorter, these people fucking love you. They love you unconditionally, and you could do the weirdest, worst thing and they would still probably love you. So like I told Stella, my daughter, I told her once, I'm like, do you want to know something? I'm like, I'm going to tell you something that grown-ups don't usually tell kids, because they want you to think that you can be bad, like you should be good, you don't want to be bad, you want to be a good girl, not a bad girl. But I said to Stella, she's very, very smart and I don't bullshit her. I said to Stella, there's nothing that you could do that would ever make me and daddy not love you. Nothing that you could do. You could burn the house down, you could crash the car, you could burn all of my Louboutins. Like, I would still love you. There's nothing that you could do. I biologically, with my whole heart and my whole being, I will love you until, like, into every lifetime that our souls have together. And she was like 7 when I told her that. And her eyes, oh, it's making me emotional, but like her eyes like filled with tears, and she just wrapped her arms around me. Unconditional love. Like, I wanted her to know that. It's making me emotional. But I really wanted her to know that from a child, that there's nothing that you could do that would ever make you not worthy of love. And that's a beautiful thing. So just give that gift to yourself. When you have a fear of judgment, write down the names of those people. And even if you want to prove it to yourself, talk to them and they'll tell you as well. Be like, so fear of judgment, who really matters? Who can really influence your life? Very few people. And then you can be brave. And then you can also know that when I choose to stand up and be visible, I pave the way for other people to be visible. Yeah, you're so welcome, Erin. I know I was getting verklempt there. Nothing makes you more vulnerable than being a mom, I have to say, like in my experience. There's nothing that I wouldn't do for that little beast. Just love her. But we are the new ancestors. So when you're willing to face your fears, when you're willing to not be perfect, when you're willing to get it wrong, like be visible and get it wrong, you're paving the way for other people to be brave as well. And you're giving your gifts. You're not being a douche. You're not being an attention whore. You're not showing off. You're not doing it wrong. You're giving your gifts. And there are people who literally need specifically not just your services, but your services delivered by you. People need. So this is our talk for today. This was so big. This is baby steps. Is it easy work? No. Is it doable? Yes. Take it pieces at a time. Take your time with it. Drop into the Facebook group and plug into any container that we may have together at the time that you're taking this, and I'll be happy to support you through the things that come up. You guys have, Anastasia says, yes, so true, tearing up while listening and changing a diaper. Yes, it's true. Unconditional love to your little boy right now. So this is fearless femininity. It's embracing the allness of all of us. It's embracing all of us. You're the thing that nurtures and gives life. You're also the thing that can consume and digest, and you're everything in between. And your femininity is the essence that inspires every single thing that's been created on this planet for your comfort, that you live a soft life. Your femininity is the blessing and the key. And so owning and walking through all of your fears is letting you shine with that feminine radiance that makes life a lot more fun, that opens up a lot more doors, that magnetizes everything to you that you desire, simply because you are, because everybody wants to come into your space, because why wouldn't they? So have fun with this. Have as much fun with this as you can. Go gentle, go slow, Be honest, be deep, and I will see you guys on the next one. I'll see you in the Facebook group and on the next one. Ciao, babes.